If you've ever walked in the door after a long day and your kid's day hit you like a wave and you thought, I can't handle one more thing, this episode is for that moment. Ask yourself, what did your face show before you said anything? Welcome back to The Journey Inside. I'm Andy Phillips. Today on The Journey Inside, we're going to talk about what unconditional love sounds and feels like and what children do when they feel life isn't fair and they've lost control. I've got some excerpts from a couple of Jake's letters from In Jake's Shoes to share, and then a different kind of story, one with mermaids, a shell crown, sandcastles, and a child who just wanted to know she was loved. At the end, I've got a simple reset you can try this week, something small that can change what a child feels from you in a given moment. Because if you're like me, stepping into our children's shoes, really seeing through their eyes and remembering what we were like, just isn't easy. We can love our kids, but can still, without thinking, send the message, this is too much, I don't want to hear this right now. Or worse, I don't care. Here's the first excerpt. Dear Gammy Gat, I got a letter from Eddie on Thursday. He said he missed me and things weren't the same. I showed Mama and Daddy the letter. Daddy didn't care, I could tell. And if you won't tell anybody, I cried a little bit. I wish I could say I've never put that face on in front of my kids, but I have. It wasn't because I didn't love them. I'm sure I did it because I let my own personal issues overwhelm me. But Jake, like I'm sure my own kids felt growing up, didn't look at his father's face and think, oh, Daddy's just busy, he's thinking about other stuff. The message he got, the message my own kids got was, my feelings don't matter. Here's the second one. Dear Gammy Gat, sometimes I don't want to do anything. I want to find some place where I don't have to do or be or see or think about anything or talk to anybody. I especially don't want to talk to anybody who says, look at me when I'm talking to you. I want people to leave me alone, at least for a little while. It's no big deal. Sometimes doing nothing is more like something than anything. Marshall discovered and read these letters after Jake died, and they were showing him a very different person from the son he thought he knew. Here's a question. It's one I ask myself as I look back at the time my own children were growing up. When was the last time my child's feelings felt too much to deal with, and I tried to shut them down instead of allowing them to be real? And when I sent that message, I know my kids escaped into something, a screen, silence, an imaginary place. Wherever they went, the same question drove that feeling for both my kids. Am I still loved when he decides he's just too busy to deal with me? Remember, Jake reads, I don't care on his father's face. Now let's listen to what happens to Addie in a very different kind of story. Sandcastle Magic. For those of you who love the beach, close your eyes. Can you smell that salt in the air? You can hear the waves too, I'll bet. That's where Addie and her mother were, in a little beach house close enough to hear the waves. Earlier that day, Addie wanted her mother to say yes, but her mother said no. Addie stomped her foot. I shall run away and live with the mer people. Then she kind of rolled her eyes and waited for the lecture. But to her surprise, it didn't happen. Her mother just looked up from her book. Oh my. Her mother had the tiniest bit of a grin on her face, but she made sure she had hid it from Addie. You might want to put a note in a bottle and throw it into the ocean first, just to ask if it'll be all right. Then she went back to reading. But before Addie could say anything, her mother added, by the way, I would miss you terribly. Addie rolled her eyes again, and just because she needed her mother to know she meant it, she marched down to the beach, wrote a note, sealed it in a bottle, and tossed it into the sea. And after that, just to feel better, like she still had some control, Addie built an extra special sandcastle. That night at bedtime, her mother hugged her and said, I love you, always, no matter what. After her mother turned out the light and left, Addie thought about those words. Later, Addie woke up to waves crashing and giggling. I'm afraid to tell you, but she sneaked out of the house and ran to the beach. She knew what she was going to find. Sure enough, her sandcastle was gone. Then a voice came from the water. I got your note. Addie couldn't believe it when she saw mermaids swimming right there in front of her. My name is Blue, the mermaid said. If you come with me to the secret valley of sandcastles, we'll make you our sandcastle queen. Every sandcastle ever washed away is rebuilt there and lasts forever. The one you made is being rebuilt as your royal home. Addie whispered, Is this a dream? No dream, Blue said. This is sandcastle magic. But if you come, you'll have to make a decision before morning. Addie reached out her hand. Blue took it, and they slipped beneath the waves. They swam through a dark tunnel toward a glowing light, and when they reached that light, Addie saw sandcastles everywhere, like a whole city made of dreams. Blue placed a shell crown on Addie's head. The merpeople cheered and celebrated, and for a while, Addie forgot what it felt like to hear no. Well, before Addie knew it, Blue whispered, It's almost morning, Queen Addie. You have a decision to make. Addie rolled those eyes. But I'm not ready. Nevertheless, you must, Blue said. If you choose to be the Sandcastle Queen, you must stay forever. If you go home, you can never return. Addie looked at the crown and the castles, and then she thought of the beach and pancakes. But most of all, she thought, I love hugs, and I love yous. She turned to Blue and said, Please take me home. Then she whispered, May I keep my crown? Blue smiled. They swam up and up. When they burst through the surface, Addie sailed above the waves, but the crown flew off. Addie splashed into the shallow water. She closed her eyes, and when she opened them, she was in her own bed. She sniffed. The smell of pancakes drifted in from the kitchen. After breakfast, double chocolate banana pancakes, of course. Addie and her mother walked down to the beach and built a sandcastle together. At one point, Addie saw something stuck in the sand. She tugged, and out came, you guessed it, a shell crown. She laughed. Her mother placed it on her head, and the two marched around their sandcastle. Addie was the sandcastle queen whenever she wanted to be, forever. You know, the most important message Addie learned wasn't that no means no. It was, I'm still loved. And in Jake's shoes, Jake's letters reveal so much about how kids can feel overwhelmed about their world, like nothing's fair and nothing's in their control. And what children like Jake and Addie need first is protection, a place to feel safe, because kids don't just hear our words, they read us, our eyes, our posture, our silence, our face. I think it's one of the reasons I needed to write in Jake's shoes. I wrote it for me because I knew so much of how Jake viewed the world was reflected in some of my own children's experiences growing up, and those of all the children I've known throughout my years as an educator. My own experiences as a child, experiences I'm sure all of us have had at one time or another. I'll be sharing my stories and songs in upcoming podcasts, but also want to weave in my own children's experiences that influenced my writing. So, if you want a simple tool to try this week, not a rule, just a reset, try this. When a child's feelings feel too big to deal with, pause for 3 seconds and do a face check. Relax your eyes, soften your mouth, lower your shoulders. And if you can, try saying something like, I hear you. Tell me what's going on inside. Understanding the need for some personal space and believing you are loved can make all the difference. If in Jake's shoes, A father's journey through loss and redemption sounds like a story for you. It can be pre-ordered by going to andrewcphillips.com and clicking on books. Thanks again for joining me on this never-ending important journey and allowing me once again to share a little bit about me as an author, a storyteller, and a dreamer. So, until next time, take care and remember,
books are an adventure. You can journey anywhere. Just reach out and turn the page.